Kennedy sits alone in her gray cubicle, a small island of solitude in the office. Kennedy wasn't the kind of person people noticed right away. She kept her head down at work, stuck to her routine, and avoided attention. On the outside, everything looked fine. Steady job, small apartment, familiar places. But inside, anxiety kept her world small. Kennedy sits alone in her sparsely furnished apartment, the television's glow illuminating her solitary dinner. Kennedy's internal monologue reveals, "My anxieties about work and social interactions consume me." Lost in thought, Kennedy replays an earlier conversation, replaying her words and worrying, "I think about a conversation I had earlier today and replay it in my mind, worrying about what I said and how I was perceived." Kennedy avoided risks, not out of laziness, but fear. What if she failed? What if people judged her? She convinced herself that staying in her comfort zone was smart, but quietly, a part of her felt stuck, trapped by her own carefulness. In her cozy, slightly cluttered apartment, Kennedy sits across from Lena, her weariness palpable as she speaks of feeling stuck. With empathetic eyes, Lena listens intently as Kennedy confesses, "I feel like I'm just existing, not living." Lena offers Kennedy a small, worn notebook, a gesture of hope. Kennedy accepts the notebook, her expression a mix of skepticism and curiosity. Lena encourages her. "Try this. Write down 3 positive things about yourself every morning, and once a day do one small thing that pushes you a little." Kennedy sits in the dim light, lost in thought, staring at the blank page. She chews on the end of her pen, deep in thought. After a long pause, Kennedy writes slowly in the notebook, "I try. I care. I'm still here." Kennedy stands in the bustling coffee shop, a flicker of nervousness in her posture. With newfound resolve, Kennedy orders, making direct eye contact with the barista. A subtle smile graces Kennedy's lips as she accepts her coffee, a quiet triumph blooming within. Weeks later, Kennedy sits at her desk, writing with newfound confidence, her face glowing with quiet optimism. The apartment is bathed in a bright light, a small plant bringing life to her workspace. She pauses, looks out the window, and a gentle smile graces her lips. The next morning, Kennedy walked a different route to work. A sense of slight nervousness and curiosity fills Kennedy as he looks around. The change of scenery sparks a feeling of small adventure within Kennedy. Kennedy's hand pauses over her phone, a text to Lena on the brink of being sent. She hesitates, withdrawing her hand as a wave of uncertainty washes over her. Taking a deep breath, Kennedy decides to send a voice message to Lena. Her voice, slightly shaky at first, fills with resolve as she says, "Hey Lena, it's Kennedy. I wanted to talk to you instead of just texting. I know things have been weird, and I really want to fix that. Call me when you get a chance." Kennedy stands hesitantly at the edge of the group, a quiet observer in the bustling room. Lena gestures warmly, inviting Kennedy to join. Kennedy sits, listening intently, her determination visible despite her discomfort. Lena smiles warmly, offering silent support and encouragement to Kennedy. Despite her silence, Kennedy remains, a sense of achievement washing over her for simply being present. Kennedy sits at her desk, writing in her notebook, her brow furrowed in concentration. She crosses out old affirmations, replacing them with new ones. "I can try new things. It's okay to be uncomfortable." She continues to write, her expression thoughtful. "I don't need to be perfect." A soft smile graces her lips, a sense of hope washing over her. With a hopeful smile, Kennedy closes her notebook, a silent promise of change. After a few months, sunlight fills Kennedy's apartment, signaling a new beginning. Kennedy walks, embracing the outdoors with each step. She wasn't fearless, but she was braver. She tries new hobbies, her smile reflecting newfound joy. A quiet transformation unfolds, marked by smiles and engagement. Kennedy sits on her couch, the glow of her laptop screen illuminating her face as she loses herself in travel blogs. She pauses, her gaze fixed on a post about a women's retreat in Spain, a place of wellness and self-discovery. Her expression becomes unreadable as she stares at the screen, lost in thought. Kennedy closes the laptop, a decisive action that momentarily stills the room. I rise, a restless energy compelling me to pace around the apartment. Drawn back by an invisible force, I return to the couch, the laptop screen beckoning. The retreat information glows from the screen, an invitation hanging in the balance. Kennedy sits at her laptop, her hands trembling as she fills out the booking form. She hesitates, then clicks Book Now, a look of nervous excitement washing over her face. Kennedy navigates the crowded airport, her anxiety growing with each step. She clutches her boarding pass, the sounds of the airport amplifying her unease. Kennedy sits among strangers, a silent observer in a circle of vulnerability. The coach's words hang in the air, urging openness and honesty. Hesitantly, Kennedy begins to speak, voice trembling with the weight of unspoken stories. Kennedy walks alone through the dimly lit Spanish street, lost in thought. She pauses, gazing up at the stars, a faint smile gracing her lips. The distant music and laughter create a sense of peace and belonging. In the workshop, the coach speaks on courage, his words capturing Kennedy's full attention. Courage doesn't always feel like a roar. Sometimes it's just showing up anyway. Kennedy listens, her eyes reflecting a deep understanding as the coach's words resonate within her. Kennedy moves through the airport, a quiet smile gracing her face. She has returned home with a newfound sense of clarity and confidence. Kennedy moves with a quiet precision, unpacking her suitcase in her impersonal apartment. The neatness of the space speaks of a life lived in quiet routine. A stack of unopened mail hints at a life lived in quiet routine. Kennedy finds solace volunteering at the local mental health group. I offer words of encouragement, my initial nervousness melting away. I am visibly moved by the shared vulnerability. Kennedy sits at her desk, a journal open before her. A quiet moment of reflection. I'm allowed to grow slowly, Kennedy whispers, her face thoughtful, determination in her eyes. She closes the journal, the room feeling warmer, more like home. A small smile graces her lips. Kennedy didn't become someone else. She simply grew into herself.